Okay, let's talk about one of the hottest trends in wellness right now. Literally, I'm talking about infrared saunas. You've probably seen them everywhere, right? They promise the world a healthier heart, a sharper mind, you name it. But here's the thing. How much of that is actually true, and how much is just, marketing steam?
And that's the big question we're going to tackle today. Are these things a revolutionary wellness tool, or are they just a really hot trend? We're going to dive into the science, break down the claims, and look at the risks to see if we can separate the hype from what's actually real. So let's get into it. And look, just to be clear, this isn't some niche thing. This is a massive trend. We're talking about a global market for saunas that's worth $1.2 billion this year alone. That's a whole lot of people trying to sweat their way to better health. But what are they actually getting for all that money?
Okay, so first things first, we need to get one thing straight. Not all saunas are the same. A traditional sauna, like the Finnish ones you might picture, is basically like an oven. It gets super hot and heats the air around you. An infrared sauna, though, it's totally different. It uses infrared light to heat your body directly, kind of from the inside out. This is a game changer because it can make you sweat just as much, but at a much lower, more manageable temperature. All right, so now for the main event, the benefits. Let's really dig into the promise versus the proof. What does the science actually have to say about all these claims we keep hearing?
Probably the biggest claim you'll hear is that infrared saunas are fantastic for your heart. And the thinking behind it makes sense, right? The heat gets your heart rate up, kind of like a light workout, giving your whole cardiovascular system a little boost.
And you know what? The evidence for this is actually pretty strong. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Pretty much all of the best, most famous long-term studies, the ones everyone points to, were done on old-school traditional Finnish saunas, not infrared ones. In those studies, they found that using a sauna often was linked to a way, way lower risk of fatal heart problems.
So this is the key takeaway here. For traditional saunas, the link to heart health is pretty solid. For infrared saunas, the research is still playing catch-up. But that doesn't mean there's nothing there. The early studies are definitely promising. For instance, there's a specific type of infrared therapy in Japan that has actually been shown to help patients with congestive heart failure. So the potential is absolutely there.
Okay, let's switch gears to another huge claim. Relief from chronic pain. We're talking about things like arthritis. The idea is that the infrared heat penetrates deep into your body, gets the blood flowing, and helps soothe those aching joints and muscles.
And this is where things get really interesting because we have some solid numbers to back this one up. We're not just talking about feeling better. One study looked at patients over 4 weeks and found that those with rheumatoid arthritis had a 40% drop in pain and a 50% drop in stiffness. And for people with ankylosing spondylitis, a 60% reduction in both. I mean, those are some seriously impressive, tangible results. All right, next up on the list of promises, a sharper mind and better sleep. So can sitting in a hot box really improve your brain power and help you catch more Z's? Well, the research here is pretty wild. A big Finnish study, and yep, you guessed it, this was on traditional saunas again, found that men who used one several times a week had a staggering 78% lower risk of developing psychosis. And what about sleep? Another study showed that just one sauna session could boost deep sleep by over 70% in the hours right after. That's a huge increase.
Okay, now we've got to talk about the big one, the one you hear everywhere, the whole sweat out the toxins claim. The idea that infrared saunas help your body purge heavy metals and all this other gunk. But this is where we need to pump the brakes a little. Yes, you sweat a lot, but the idea that you're pushing out a meaningful amount of toxins through your skin, the science just isn't there yet. As one doctor from the Cleveland Clinic said, that research is really in its infancy. Let's be real, your liver and your kidneys are the heavy lifters when it comes to detox, not your pores. Okay, so we've looked at the good stuff, the potential benefits, but it is just as important, maybe even more so, to talk about the risks and how to stay safe. Because while they're generally fine for most of us, they are definitely not for everyone. For the most part, any side effects are pretty mild. You might get a little dizzy or lightheaded because the heat can lower your blood pressure. The absolute #1 rule is to just listen to your body. If you start feeling off in any way, don't tough it out. Just get out. And look, there are some people who absolutely have to talk to their doctor before even thinking about stepping into one.
We're talking about anyone with certain heart conditions, MS, or kidney disease. And if you're pregnant, experts pretty much say to avoid them altogether. Seriously, your health is everything. A quick chat with your doctor is non-negotiable. So, let's say you've checked with your doctor, you've got the green light, and you want to give it a shot. What's the right way to do it? How do you heat up without, burning out?
It's pretty simple, really. Just follow these 4 key steps. First, start low and slow. I'm talking maybe 110 degrees for just 5 or 10 minutes. Just see how your body handles it. Second, keep your sessions short. Under 30 minutes is plenty. More is definitely not better. Third, and this is a big one, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Drink lots of water before and after, and please never ever mix alcohol with sauna time. And finally, it's always a good idea to have a quick shower afterward to rinse off all that sweat.
So that brings us right back to where we started. Is this the future of wellness? Well, the verdict is a bit mixed, isn't it? It seems like infrared saunas have some real science-backed promise, especially for things like pain relief. And the heart health benefits look promising, even though most of the killer evidence still comes from their traditional cousins. But that whole detox thing? Yeah, that seems to be mostly hype. So what's the bottom line? They seem to be a pretty useful tool, but they're not some kind of miracle cure. And that leaves me with one last thought for you. In this constant search for wellness, are we really focusing on the things that matter, or are we just getting really good at finding new, expensive ways to sweat the small stuff?